Hello everyone, welcome back to the Loopy Studio. Today I'm here to talk about When Calls the Heart Season 12, Episode 8. It is called The Show Must Go On. Overall, this was a good episode. I would say one of the better ones of this season. One of the things I think this season's been lacking is that community aspect that I love about the show. And I do feel like this is the most that's felt like this season. Is it just, seeing, I guess not even the whole community, but seeing a good chunk of them doing the play and a lot of people watching. That was all nice and everything. So, and it definitely, I liked all the storylines this episode too. So I don't really have many complaints. But really quickly, just breaking down some of these plot lines. The main one is Rosemary and her play. She's struggling as to whether to give Ava a role. And rightly so. I don't really trust Ava. Now, I used to think when she first came in that she was trouble right from the start. But now I'm starting to think maybe not as much so. I do think there's something definitely shady about her. But I don't think she's as bad as what I originally thought. I could be wrong. But I just feel like there's already a lot of different villains this season and everything. I don't really see her turning into one as well. I don't know. We'll see though. But basically, Bill, Lee, and Mike all get sick, which means that she really has no choice but to ask Ava, but they just decide to recast all the male roles and make them female roles, which I thought was actually pretty, powerful. A powerful message to send that, women can do what men can do. Something this show's done a lot, and sometimes I think, I don't know if it's really time accurate when it comes to that part of it. I feel like women do way more, in this show than they probably would have back then. But there's also been instances where, Fiona hasn't been treated seriously as well, which I think has been a reoccurring theme, too. So I did like the play stuff. I like that Minnie dealt with a little bit of stage fright and Joseph helped her through it. I thought all that was good. I thought Elizabeth's plotline was pretty good too. She talks with this superintendent on the radio who's basically just bashing her project-based learning style and saying, without test scores to prove it, we can't prove that this method works, which, I guess on paper that makes sense, but also I just think she was being completely cruel and unwilling to accept change. And I think it's awesome that Elizabeth is doing this and helping her students learn and expand their horizons in ways that in high schools now aren't even doing. In our town there is a school separate from the two main schools that's more project-based learning. That's the whole thing of their school. And they kind of, I would say, do stuff similar to, but they still have different subjects for each class. But I know they also combine them a bit more, too, because it's similar teachers do similar things. So, I would say that's kind of similar to this. So it definitely, it has existed, and probably there are a lot of schools like that, just not in the main schools. You're really not going to get that, which I think is also kind of the point that she's trying to make a difference and trying to break the norm of the typical school setting. Granted, she also has a way smaller classroom than probably a lot of teachers do at this time, too. But I like that, she overcame that barrier and got all these letters in the mail from teachers and parents and all this that were very inspired by what she's doing. And then she reads them off on the radio at the end of the episode. And I thought that was, really a nice, full circle moment. And I gotta say, Elizabeth's never really been my favorite character, but I am liking her a lot more this season. Probably it's one of her best storylines that she's ever had. Because, she's going back to her teaching roots. That's a great start, first of all. She's not wishy-washy between two men. That's another thing, too. So I'm very happy with her storyline this season. I really have no complaints about it. I love her and Nathan's relationship, too. And seeing him support her through it. That was all really good. So Fiona accepts the proposal from her suitor, and Faith is really upset. She says, "I thought you didn't love him," and Fiona says, that I do, and it doesn't really matter. This is the right path for me to take. And she does ask Faith to be her maid of honor, and that was really sweet. I love that. I love their friendship a lot. But by the end of it, she actually decides not to accept it after a talk with Elizabeth, and she instead takes this new position for Rosemary and Fiona's radio thing. And Fiona, I'm really kind of surprised. She just came back into town and completely like took up co-ownership of that radio with Rosemary. I feel like we kind of missed a thing there. But she decides to take that position so Rosemary can stay with Lee and Goldie, and then she leaves and she turns down, I guess, breaks off the engagement. And I like that they had Elizabeth be the one to say it. You know, usually I feel like Elizabeth doles out too much advice when she should be the one listening to it. But this one made sense because she's been there. She's had to break off her engagement with Lucas. So I don't have a problem with that. And it was actually a very good conversation between the two of them. So I do kind of like their friendship a lot too. Again, she is friends with a lot of people, but I like that conversation, their friendship for sure. So, I mean, I think we got a good amount of Fiona this season overall. I mean, she's always, like, just kind of wishy-washy, off to the next thing, so I'm sure she'll pop back up again next season. So, I mean, I'm happy, though. We got a decent amount of her this season overall, so I'm pretty surprised. She was in, like, a third of the season, so I really have no complaints there. So, Allie, Oliver, and Lucas present their thing to the Cattlemen's Association, basically saying the cattle can go on this other land to prevent them from contaminating the stream. However, McGinty, who is the owner of this other land, is very against this, and it's clear that he is hiding something on that other land. We don't know what, but they recognize Allie and Oliver do because it was his shoes that were on that horse. But they were trespassing, so they can't really come forward and say that. They would get in trouble for it because it was on trespassing land. And Edie turns down and says, we're not doing this. And this makes Lucas upset because he thought they were getting somewhere. But later on, she explains this whole thing that McGinty made all of these ranchers sign something, and they thought it was like a 1 month or lease or something. I don't fully remember all the details, but basically they didn't read the fine print, and it turns out that they're on loan to McGinty. So if they try to leave his thing, they'll owe them a lot of debt. So they're forced to do what he says. Basically, that's the rundown. So, and Edie is one of those people because her grandfather did dealings with, or her uncle, sorry, did dealings with McGinty. So she's stuck in this situation, and Lucas kind of understands what it's like to be in that situation. He's been there before, and he says, we're good, yeah. So as far as Lucas and Edie go, I am liking them together more, and I'm starting to like Edie more too. At first, I was just very hesitant on whether I liked them together or not, but I'm starting to come around to them. I mean, I think I'm going to need to see more romantic interaction, not like sexual stuff, but I just mean like dialogue that suggests that there's something more there. Right now, it's still very business and casual. So, I mean, they haven't done a whole lot, but I mean, it's clear that they are hinting at something there for sure. And I honestly don't think her uncle was maybe her uncle was involved. Actually, her uncle probably was involved in the whole Garrison Gang coin mystery thing that's also going on. But I don't think she was involved in it. Like, I mean, unless they're trying to mislead us there. But I mean, I'm pretty sure she was completely oblivious to what her uncle was doing. And so I think we're supposed to be on her side there. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of progress with the coin mystery investigation. I mean, we'll see. Georgie wasn't in this episode either. I don't know if she'll be back at some point or not. I think she is. I think I saw her in some pictures, her and Bill, later on in the season online. Spoiler alert, I guess. But there's also this random guy, and his name is Woody, and he's just very rude. It's clearly a sus character that we're not supposed to like. And he ends up talking to Sonny on the phone, and I assume this is Sonny Garrison, the one that Bill and Georgie met with. So I'm wondering, is this a Garrison brother? I mean, obviously he's connected. In the preview, he's with Allie and Oliver, so I think he's going to be luring them into a trap, because then we see Sonny Garrison confront them, and it's going to lead to some sort of Elizabeth and Nathan and them have to save Allie and Oliver, I guess, from the Garrison brothers or whoever this. Yeah, I mean that's where I think this is going. So he's escaped from jail somehow. Clearly, the security is terrible. It still kind of is. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this next episode. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode down below. And I'll see you guys next week for episode 9. So bye, everyone.